You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Greetings from Morocco Rainbow Warriors. Leo Rising is a yoga teacher based in Manhattan, New York. Since 2010, Leo has been living a life in holistic and mystical service as a healer and personal guide to highly prominent beings in corporate, celebrity, and sensitive artistic lifestyles. As a trained and adept spiritualist, Leo offers a unique remedy to the trials and tribulations of modern-day life through the Roarrior Shift, his one-on-one lifestyle guru mentorship program. Born with a few extra senses and a charismatic sweetness that never runs out of fuel, Leo Rising is sought out by students internationally for his cosmic personality, precision, and guidance through the energetic layers of humanity. As a yoga teacher, Leo found that the physically rehabilitating practices of asana and pranayama open aspects of existence that are connected, grounded, stable, and promote clarity upon every action, and the space to exist fully present while still. I met Leo at the Bali Spirit Festival and was instantly drawn to his charismatic energy. I joined one of his classes, was super inspired by it, and was fortunate enough to find this time to sit and talk with him. We talk here about the law of attraction, the fifth chakra, and the magical synchronicity that is so present in Bali. I'm grateful to know that inspirational people like Leo are out in the world sharing yoga and lifting hearts. Make sure to check out his Instagram feed for further inspiration. It's really great. And as usual, find the link in the show notes on my website at visionary-lifestyle.com/podcast. Enjoy and namaste. Leo Rising, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
It's been really fun connecting with you here in Bali at the Bali Spirit Festival. And the first day I got here, I didn't know what was going on, where anything was, and I thought I was headed one way, and then I heard this voice, and I was drawn to it energetically, and I got closer and closer and closer, and it was you teaching a yoga class. So I don't even know where I don't remember where I was headed, but I dropped my stuff and I dropped into your class, and I loved it so much. And you have this super fun, playful, yet deep energy, like super friendly and approachable, and you're so knowledgeable and spiritually, like you're dropping all these like spiritual bombs, and I loved your practice so much and your offering, and so I wanted to sit and chat with you about who you are and why you're teaching yoga and what it means to you and all this good stuff. Let's just have some yoga talk.
Thank you. Let's have yoga talk. I really appreciate everything you said. I have to go through layers. I'm going to be honest. I have to go through layers of process and acceptance, process and acceptance, process and acceptance. And it's just something I'm still working through humanly. And I think it's fair to say that out loud. The class I just taught. So today, I just taught my last workshop with Bali Spirit as a presenter. It was the Transcendental Movement Sermon.
Yeah.
It is very special. If I had to textbook it so that someone could understand what it was, it's a fifth chakra, third and fourth reality based movement exploration. So there's like first dimensional, second dimensional, third dimensional, and that's where we get shapes, and then fourth and everything above is where like energy is like formlessness, and then like joining everything. This class is about when we see each other or when we see an object, but the Transcendental Movement Sermon is about the viewer behind the human body reminding itself at all times based on what it sees before it, that it's the viewer, that it's spirit, and it could turn into, for many people, a beautiful energetic attunement in their body. But at the end of it, I was honest with the class. I had a blue piece of kyanite, and it's blue kyanite's good for the 5th chakra. So we were working with the ethereal and bringing the ethereal into an embodied existence, how we got here. And we put it in the center of a circle. And in the circle, we stated our name, our true name if we chose to. And then something we have to tell ourselves. We have to tell ourselves when we wake up in the morning, or we may not have such a great day. And I always have to tell myself that I'm worthy. And I try not to leave my house until I can accept it. So when someone pays me a compliment, sorry y'all, I'm a little long-winded.
No,
when someone pays me a compliment, I genuinely, even while looking at them, have to watch my tells, watch my diversion so I can accept it.
Oh.
And so I really heard you, and I just want to say I really appreciate that.
Oh, that's very sweet. I love how raw and honest you are. See, this is part of your charm and part of why I'm attracted to you, because you're so real. You know, you're down to earth and you're real, and you are so worthy. You have so much to share, and I mean, I'm watching all the people get so much out of your classes, and I don't know if I shared this with you, that I was looking through the book of the presenters and trying to figure out who I was going to want to check out their class and who I was going to want to interview, and I had just written your name down when I started walking around, and then I ended up in your class, and I actually didn't realize that your name was on the list, or it was you actually, until the end of the class, and you said your name, because I walked in the middle. So I was like, oh, I just had already, you know, it's so magical the way everything happens in Bali like this, right?
I always want anyone before me to claim that synchronicity in their life, and to claim that magic, or claim that magnetism, because if it wasn't for principles like the law of attraction or explorations and limbs of that, I don't think I would have never been in Bali. I would have never left my hometown, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would have never probably chose my parents. So I think it's really important. So I feel blessed that happened, and I'm really excited that was something that happened. That's cool that happened.
Yeah, it seems to be like this law of attraction, synchronicity. What's the word I'm looking for? Dimension. I'm going to call it a dimension. Seems to be heightened in Bali. Like, the experiences here have just been non-stop, back-to-back, like super wow, divinity in action. Now I get what the fuss is all about. This is my first time here, and so many people I know come and spend time in Bali, and now I get it. I'm like, oh wow, it's almost like a vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely gives Sedona a run for its money. I absolutely agree with you. I lost like a sweater, and it showed up in my room, but I had my room key. So that was like the ultimate.
That's the next level.
But yeah, that was next level. But it was the stuff that happened preceding to that event that really woke me up, that I can't deny the ancestral consciousness that's here.
Yeah.
There are these beautiful cows near some of the pavilions, but they actually are kind of far. Like, there's no way for the cow to make it into the pavilion. But these cows made their way super close to where I could just walk up a little like ditch and get to it.
Yeah.
And like, I had just finished telling like 3 students, because they were like, what are your dreams? What are your passions? And I didn't know there was a cow behind me. And I was like, you know, people think I'm so like spiritual and I'm a healer, but animals don't come near me. Like, they never come near me. And I turn around and there's this cow, and a mother cow, and I walk up to it. I was like, see, watch. And the mother cow lets the baby cow come forward, and it sniffed my hand, and I felt like a Disney princess. And I was like, I don't know what is in Bali's air, but whatever's in Bali's air, like, I'm no longer doubting it.
Yeah, there's some serious magic here. I love
serious
it. This
magic.
Is awesome sitting here with you having this conversation. So let's talk yoga. How did you get into yoga?
I hated yoga.
Oh.
I thought it was so silly. I had horrible judgments on it, but I know that was like false evidence. It was
false evidence appearing real, as in fear.
As in fear. Yeah, and it was definitely it was an aspect of my ego. So my first walk with this, there are 4 chapters in the Yoga Sutra as most people study it. And chapter 3 and 4 are about the yoga siddhis, transcendental knowledge, psychic space, yoga nidra, proper uses of energy and bandhas, auric fields. Like, I was like, I know that. Like, I grew up with that. Like, that, I got that. The physical stuff seemed pointless. And I didn't, for many years, identify that as important. And so when I would think of yoga, I would think of, like, Dalsim from Street Fighter, who's this character who just, like, he was a stereotype. He was a caricature. He was a horrible stereotype of what yoga was in a game, and so I just was like, yoga's so silly. But then there was like the contrast of that was like Haji and Johnny Quest, like those like sadhus or those like Sikh men who are just really balanced, like in Indiana Jones with the skull. They had the Shiva stones. Like, I was like, is that yoga? But the movement wasn't appealing until it was necessary for me.
Okay, so you started out hating yoga.
I didn't like the movement.
And how did that shift?
I was in an acting conservatory and we studied movement. So it's interesting that I said I didn't like the movement. I liked movement. I had fear of what I felt when I moved, because when I was a kid I just like grab a staff, like I'd take a broom and pretend I was a shaman and run around and do these things. Cartwheel bravely. I taught myself a lot of like martial art techniques. I went to capoeira class. I did dance classes. I did Irish step dancing. Like, yeah, I did. These things happened, but something about yoga, I had an inclination that I knew was intimate. Around my psychic development, I really felt like I was able to realize what that would open in me.
So it was intimidating.
It was intimidating. And nobody around me was considering it. And it seemed, I don't like to intimidate people, and I don't like to be in intimidating situations. So it just seemed like not a thing. And also I think the yoga offered where I happen to live just wasn't appealing. I definitely started a physical practice with that adrenaline-based power yoga craziness. Yeah, that was definitely a thing, and I was really, really, really into that. And then I stopped being into that, and I found Hatha with a teacher named Yogi Charu, and I got, after a few bandha classes, like he's really into bandhas and meditation, it shifted. I was able to shift and enjoy physicalizing spiritual energy in essence.
Okay, so how do you define yoga at this point? Like, what is yoga to you?
I have a natural inclination to be kind of dogmatic with things. I think that people don't assume that when they see me. So yoga is for me, it's definitely a yoking of present consciousness with all consciousness that has ever been. Yoga is the follow through or the continuation of chosen and carefully placed movements that are sourced from whatever is deeper than understanding. I don't know a word deeper than understanding, or overstanding. If you're Caribbean, we say overstanding. But there's a stance that is a conduit of force, of universal movement. I think when we come to our mats, we are reciting a poem, or we are going through a remembrance, but I almost hesitate, and it happened because I was somewhere where they kept saying like, this is my prayer, this is my, yoga is my this, yoga is my that, and I'm like, but yoga is a state. Yoga is like, not a state to be a property, but yoga is like a whole position inside of us. So from that position inside of us is where we are being. So that's where I'm at with my yoga right now. Like, from that place is where I am being, and where I can perform actions in my state of being and continue to be. And if I am not being peaceful, if I am not being kind, if I am not being aware and present, I'm not really with, above, next to, or near yoga. I'm somewhere else. And when I lie to myself that I'm somewhere else, I'm not enjoying the moment. So, and that's really been a connection I have from being an artist who's taught to be in the moment, to being a spiritualist who's taught to appreciate all moments, and then being a yogi that's taught to pay the F attention, to pay a lot of attention. So like they have this thread into each other. They seem like they're saying different things, but the source of them doesn't divert the viewer or the practitioner on the mat, unless the practitioner on the mat chooses to be hyper dogmatic. So it was in that, with yoga, that I was able to relinquish this is that is this, and let them blend.
Beautiful. Okay. So is yoga a lifestyle for you? It's interesting to me that you said, if you're not being kind, you're nowhere near yoga. That stood out to me, because that goes into like yoga as a philosophy, as you know, a life science, right? Because that ahimsa is non-harming, right? So which is kindness, really, and compassion, right? So that's interesting. So do you consider yourself like leading a yogic lifestyle, or is yoga kind of a part of your life?
I'd like to bring it back to relations and social skills. So socializing is where lifestyle has a resonance that makes it hard and fast in 3D. I definitely live a lifestyle that is close to yogic but not dogmatic. So I'm not a vegan yet, but I am very aware of what energy transference is, and I'm very aware of the importance of animals and people and all nouns, all nouns with a heartbeat and with chlorophyll on this planet. I have moments where I would love to I have moments, honestly, where I'm so chronically charged I don't eat or drink, and I'm not dehydrated, I'm not thirsty, and everyone's complimenting my skin. And they asked me specifically what I did, and I said I'm happy.
Yeah.
So I feel like a mutant sometimes when it comes to answering those questions, because without being contradictory, I've never committed to any lifestyle, even as I guess I can classify myself as like for a long time as a homosexual male, as a person who has an inclination to fall in love with the masculine archetype in all of its spectrums, and then recently in the spectrum of like women, it's like really weird, like it's like a whole other convo. I don't want to say when it serves me, but when there's an injustice, I show up for that lifestyle group, because I can never ignore an injustice. Yoga lifestyle, there aren't many injustices, except for when a practitioner or someone who wears a lot of the yogic persona is unkind to others, or because they're being unkind to themselves. So unkindness, as a teacher, I welcome it into this space because I'm not going to transfer it back to you. But when I feel unkind to myself, I feel not close to my source, which is huge, my yoke. And so the work is to be that. And so the work is to share that. So lifestyle, I'm at the Bali Spirit Festival, so yeah, I'm living a yogic lifestyle. I think it's really important to be of this world and knock down our dogmas and knock down the things that separate us. I never really want to feel like I'm better than or above or below anyone. So I mess with it. In my town, we're like, I flex with it. Like, I got the yogic lifestyle. But I wish that in the lifestyle there was room. I don't always feel like the yogic lifestyle gives room. I feel like there are tiers and classisms to it because there are tiers and classisms to the practitioners. And I wish there was an evenness. There can be, not here. I'm having a great time in Bali, but I mean like back home in New York, like there's a classism. There's like, my leggings were $200.
Uh-huh.
I practice only in Soho.
Okay.
Oh, that's your teacher? Like, there's things like that, and I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's not really yoga.
that's not, it's far away from kindness, it's far away from compassion, so then it's like, what is it? But then it's also, everyone's where they are.
Right.
So my constant battle is like, meet people where you are, not where they are. Respect that they're doing their best and appreciate it. Before the yoga lifestyle, I had my other lifestyles, and then, you know, it was the same human thing. It was the same thing. So that's a loaded question for me, because it's like, oh, it's the same thing no matter, honestly, where you go. It just gets a little bit better, a little bit smoother.
Well, what's your favorite thing about yoga? I mean, or maybe what's the biggest benefit that it brings into your life?
The benefit is I actually have, that was a great question. The benefit for me with yoga, the practice of asana, pranayama, meditation, and all of it is like, I have a full responsibility, or I claim responsibility for how I feel and how I react. I get so emotional thinking about this. My dream in life seemed like it was really far away from me. And I got so much anxiety as an artist, having to meet people, having to get them to like me. And it was just so much, and I just was like, I'm walking away, I'm done. But I always had a meditation coach, and I had a spiritual advisor. Like, I always have had those people in my life. I made sure I felt like it was just something I was going to invest in and something I needed. And they both on separate occasions, and they don't really know about each other. And now they do, but like before they didn't, they both said, like, you really should look into yoga and move that energy, move those thoughts. When I put my hands down, usually for me, it's when I put my hands down in lunge twist. That's like, my favorite pose is triangle pose. But when I put my hands down in lunge twist and I peel one of my arms up, there is a clarity of traction and structure and support, because I have a very weak ankle, and I'm not telling y'all which one. I have a very weak ankle, but there's a clarity in that pose that I know my emotional indicators. I know where I'd crap out. I remember what it was like 7 years ago, the first time I did that, and I was tired in a hot room and my thoughts were unclean. And now it's like an unclean thought can come and I giggle because my structure's clean. My vessel, I accept the responsibility of being the reason that I'm happy. And I only got that through the physical practice. Because it can be hard. Physical practice can be really hard, and it's like, where's your joy? When do you realize that your ankle being on fire, there's a difference of pain, and just, that's kind of what it feels like when you don't stretch it out for a couple of years.
Yeah, I love that pose too, by the way. I get some great release in lunge twist too. Just when you move into that, and it's just like, you just get that deep breath, and it's just like, I mean, you just feel.
Do you ever swing the arm, like, or like, oh my God, just swing the arm? Not like aggressively, but just to draw it back.
Yeah.
Open the pec too. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, when you expand your body through yoga, it's amazing, like, everything that gets released. I mean, yoga is such a beautiful way to release stagnant energy from the body, right? I mean, this is one of my favorite things about yoga, is that it's like, I look at the mat as our own personal temple that we can step into anytime, any place, right? And we don't even need a physical mat. It's just the idea of the mat, right? That this is my space that I'm using right now, and I can be on the earth or on a mat in a studio. It doesn't matter where I am on the beach. But that's your time that you can carve out for yourself and step in and give yourself an attitude adjustment, right? And release old stagnant energy and remove old programming. and use the breath and clear your energy and walk out of that session just completely refreshed and uplifted, right? Energy like transformed.
Yeah.
Such a gift. Yoga is such a gift.
Yeah.
And where were you when the earthquake happened this morning?
I took my Teletubby self to the kitchen. I was in the restaurant trying to get breakfast. I was not awake. Actually, my ride to the yoga bar in Bali was late, but I wasn't late for class, but he was late. And I sat down and I got the pot of coffee and it was tea, and I laughed. So I said, okay, I need to be present in this grogginess. And then I thought I saw the world shaking, but I just thought it was, I see things, so I just didn't think anything of it. And then I was like, I thought I adjusted my butt in the seat. Like when everything was moving, I thought I adjusted the seat. So I sat deeper into my chair, and I was speaking to another volunteer, Colin, and he goes, oh my God. And I was like, then I see all these restaurant workers running downstairs and running out the restaurant. And I said, why are they doing that? They're making the restaurant shake. What? And Colin goes, Leo, it's an earthquake. I said, no, it's them. They're making the whole building shake. And he's like, because it's an earthquake, they're running. And then I looked and I was like, oh, and then there's just all these people staring like, it's an earthquake. And I was like, I'm such an a-hole.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
So I was like, I'm so silly.
Free
like
coffee.
Yeah, I was like, somebody please get me some like potatoes. I'm hungry.
That's hilarious.
I genuinely believe that it was people stomping, like it was a stampede. It was interesting. But it was powerful.
Yeah.
Earthquakes are so important.
It was, for me, it was trippy. I was in a class, Surya Namaskar class. It was like 7:30 this
with
morning.
Vijay
right?
Gopala?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, I was in his class, and it was
I put
just
that on
started.
schedule.
He was amazing. I interviewed him already. He had so much wisdom to
yes,
share.
Yes.
So, like halfway through it, we all started looking at each other, and I looked at him, and he was smiling, which I thought was amazing, leading the class, and a big smile on his face in the middle of an earthquake. And after it finished, like everyone around me had different comments. One woman said, I had a dream last night, and the other woman on the other side of me said, I had a vision 10 years ago this was going to happen. And then I said, I was in India 2 months ago and the same thing just happened. Like we all had our little story with it, but it was powerful. Like the earth, the energy is so powerful in Bali. I mean, that's the big takeaway. So I don't know. I haven't heard any reports yet on how if there was any damage or anything. Okay, so you teach regular classes in New York.
Yes.
And where can people learn more about you and what you're up to?
Right now it's really channeled into me to take a little bit of an evolutionary jump, and to be honest with there was initially a separatism to my artist and my yogi, and then I'm like, that's so silly, because if it wasn't for these practices I wouldn't be as creative, and if it wasn't for my creation I wouldn't have found space in my movement and in the way that I teach to come at it in a different way. And creativity as an essence, if it's ignored, it just jumps into another body, and I like what comes through mine, so I want to, I would continue to pray that I'm the vessel. So while it was my third day in Bali, I changed a little bit of my the subtext of my offering. I feel like all yogis, we try so hard with our brands to say offering instead of saying brand. We're like, I don't want to be commercial, but I have to pay rent.
Well, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. The millennial mystic, because there's such a weird connotation. I like to reclaim words. So like I said earlier, I was very occult and very spiritual, and I was well studied. I'm very scholarly when it comes to those things. I'm well studied, well versed on them. And I started with my family, my aunt, Catherine, and then I got a teacher named Butterfly. Like there's some really deep work with it. And so words, I feel as though have superpowers because they come from the throat chakra. They come from ether, and we give them meaning. And we think it's silly until it hurts someone's feelings, or we think it's silly until we're getting married, you know? Or we think it's silly when we have a nickname that's awesome, or we take on a spiritual name like I did. The Millennial Mystic is the blend of Leo Rising, the artist, and Leo Scott, there you go. Leo Rising, the yoga teacher and healing energy vessel, and Leo Scott, the essence and the entity of creativity. And the Millennial Mystic is what I'm moving my Instagram to. I love that as a modality of connection. I love pictures. I've started painting more. I'm not sharing them yet, but I've started painting more. And New Age was so important to me at Barnes & Noble's at a point in my life when I needed answers on death and detachment.
Wow.
And now as an adult, with my poor millennial group getting so much slack all the time on the internet, mysticism is more alive than it's ever been though. Because I remember the early 90s and like everyone walked around with crystals, and they may not have known why, but they knew it was important. They knew their rose quartz or their amethyst was important. And when those things come back, whether it's commercial or not, it's important because it's humanity reclaiming some sort of nature. And we're running out of nature. And Bali has so much nature and respects its nature. So when I came here, I said, I'm going to embrace that. So Instagram, Leo_Rising Yoga. That's the same for Twitter. And then my website is leorisingyoga.com. But also look for the information in the hashtag of the Millennial Mystic, because I don't think that entity is isolated to just me. I think it's a new channel I picked up on my mental radio, and I think I'm going to attract other millennial mystics, and I think it's important to.
Yeah, I think it's really appropriate for you. That feels like a good hashtag.
Yeah, it's a good hashtag.
Yeah.
I'm good at hashtags.
The Millennial Mystic. All right. Find Leo, learn more about him, interact with him on Instagram, and find him in New York and go to one of his classes. Do yourself a favor and go to one was classes.
Oh my gosh.
You'll be glad you did.
What was your favorite thing about class? Like what, I mean, you said such beautiful things, but in your body, like what was the on switch?
Well, it challenged me, honestly. When we did some of these low lunges, when we were going back and forth with the hands really low. Like
the lateral movement.
Lateral movement, yeah. And it challenged me, and I liked that because, you know, sometimes I do more of a simple practice, and I guess that day I stuck through it, you know, and it was challenging for me, and it forced me out of my comfort zone, you know, and on the physical, that was, I would say, a highlight. Even though it was the most challenging part, it wasn't the most fun because it was challenging, but it felt rewarding when I, you know, accomplished it.
Yeah.
But the biggest impression that your class made on me was just your energy, your bright, huge, amazing energy, and just how uplifting you were. And I can't really remember any specific things that you said at this point. I mean, it was a couple days ago, and many things have happened since then, but the impression that you left me, like they say, people will always remember how you made them feel. Yeah. You know, you made me feel really uplifted and seen and included, and, you know, just it was a joy being in your light.
Thank you.
You shine so bright.
Our light, well, my light is your light, so this is our light. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, well, the light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated Rainbow Warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste.